everyone, Leander here, and today we are going to learn how to make a choose your own adventure game using HTML and CSS. So this tutorial requires a basic knowledge of HTML and CSS. If you need that, you can go back and check out my 2 previous videos on those topics. So here is the web page we made in the 2 previous videos. And here is the code for that web page. And I'd like to start with an empty page. So I'm just going to delete out the HTML from the body and also our CSS. And the title too. So now we have a nice blank web page. The way our Choose Your Own Adventure game is going to work is we're going to show the player a scene, describe the situation, and give them some choices for what they're going to do. I've already created some of the images I'd like to use for our scenes, so I'm just going to go get those images and put them in our site folder. Okay, now I can put on the image for our first scene, and the name of the image is just going to be the same name as my HTML document, just to keep things easy. So it's index.png, and it looks like this. Next we can add some text to describe the situation, and since the situation is the player is starting the game, we can type press start to begin. And their only choice in this situation will be to start the game, so we'll make start a link to the next situation, which will be another HTML page, and we'll call that page chose start.html. And since this is the start menu for our game, let's also add the title of our game, and we'll add it as a heading at the top. Epic Adventure. And we'll also make that the title of the document. If we wanted to, we could just stop here for this page. But using a little bit of CSS, we can make it look a lot better. So let's do that. First, let's make the font size bigger for the entire body of the document. Next, let's make the background of the body black and the font color white. Next, how about we make the color of the link white as well? Now, how about changing the font family of our text? This looks okay, but why don't we change our heading font family to something different? And make it bigger too. Now it's taking up too much space, so let's make it a little more compact by making the padding and the margins 0. Alright, our page is looking better, but we can do more to make it look like a classic game. Specifically, we can put the text over the image. Or rather, we can put the image behind the text. So here's how we can do that. First, we're going to get rid of this image and replace it with a div. We'll give that div an ID. We'll call it scene. And inside of this div, we're going to put our heading and also our text for our situation. Like that. Then, down in our CSS, we'll give our scene div a background image. And that background image will be index.png. Our page now looks like this. So we need to give our scene div the same height as the image we're using. And if you're not sure what the height of your image is, it's easy to check. All you have to do is go to the folder where your image is at and just mouse over it. And we can see that this image has a width of 711 pixels and a height of 400 pixels. So now we can go back here to our code and make our scene div 400 pixels, just like our image. As you can see, our image is repeating, and we don't want that to happen, so we can add on no repeat. And now it doesn't repeat anymore. Next, I'd like to move our heading over to the right a little bit. And to do that, we could go ahead and adjust the left margin of our heading. But there's actually another way we can position elements. And so I'm going to show you that other way. So we go into our heading in our CSS and we type position absolute. Now we can tell the browser how far we want our heading to be from the left side of our window by simply typing left and then how many pixels we want it to be from the left side. So how about 20 pixels? Let's make that 80 pixels. That's better. Let's now use the same positioning technique to move our situation text down toward the bottom of the page. Before we do that, I'm going to give our situation text, this paragraph element here, I'm going to give it an ID, and we'll call it situation. And then down here, we'll add the positioning for that ID. Position absolute. And how about bringing it down about 310 pixels from the top? We're going to move this text around a little bit more, but before we do, I'm going to give it a temporary background color, just so that it's easy to see what's happening. Now let's give our situation text a width of 640 pixels, and we'll center it, and then we'll move this all over a little bit, about 30 pixels. Let's also give it some padding, about 15 pixels on each side. Next, I'd like to actually move our entire scene div a little bit down and a little bit to the right. So I'm just going to use the same absolute positioning technique to do that. So in here, we'll type position absolute. And how about 20 pixels from the top and 20 pixels from the left? Let's see how that looks. Uh-oh. Our background image disappeared. What's going on? Well, here's a problem when we use absolute positioning. Basically, when we do that, if we have a background image, we need to make sure we have both the height and the width of our element defined. So the width of our image was 711 pixels. So if I do that, and we refresh it, our image comes back. It looks like our situation text is now a little bit too far to the right, so I want to decrease the left positioning here. Let's make it 20 pixels instead of 30. There we go, that looks better. Now let's replace this red background with a semi-transparent background using the trick we learned in the previous video. And for that we need the red, green, blue alpha system, RGBA for short, and we'll set red to 0 and also green and blue. making black, and we'll make the alpha level 0.5. And now our text background looks like this. There's one more adjustment I'd like to make to this page before we move on. Let's take this underline off of our link and put it back on when somebody hovers their mouse over it. So we go up in our CSS, here's our style for our link, and we add text decoration, none, and then we add :hover and text decoration underline. And now the underline is gone until we hover over start. Okay, I think we're done with this page for now. It was a lot of work, but our next page will be much easier because all we have to do for our next page, which will be the CSS.html page, is save this file as CSS.html, and then all we have to do is change our image and change our text. So the image we're going to use for our CSS page is called CSS.start.png. So I'll go down into our scene CSS and change index.png to CSS.start.png. And now if we refresh the page, you see there's no change because this is still our index.html page, but if we choose start, here we are. Now we're at CSS.start.html, and we see our image has changed. Now we have our hero standing here looking out at the mountain and the castle. Now let's go ahead and change the text for our situation. And we'll ask the player if they want to go to the mountain or the castle. Will you go to the mountain or the castle? And of course, the mountain is a choice and the castle is a choice, so we're going to make those links. And for mountain, we'll make it link to mountain, chose mountain. Chose mountain.html. Close that link. And for castle, chose castle.html. And now it looks like this. Oh, and we don't need this heading anymore. So I'll just get rid of that. We could be done with this page now, but wouldn't it be nice if we could allow the player not only to click on the words mountain and castle, but also on the actual mountain or castle? That would be really cool. So how could we do that? Let's do the mountain first. So I'm going to just make a copy of the link for the mountain here and paste it at the top of the scene. And that looks like this. And now we'll give this link an ID. We'll call it mountain. We'll go down in our CSS. We'll add that mountain ID. And let's give it a temporary background color of red, just so that it's easy to see. And now it looks like this. Next, we'll make the position of the mountain absolute. And give it a left position, 20 pixels, and a top position. Next, let's give it a width and a height. About 250 pixels for the width, and for the height, let's make it 300 pixels. Now we can get rid of the text. Just put a space here. And we can get rid of the background color. But how will the player know that they can click on this mountain? We can help the player figure that out by adjusting the hover property of the link. And we can do that like this. The mountain ID, hover. And now we can use our old RGBA technique and use a semi-transparent background. And this time I'm going to, instead of making it darker, I want to make it lighter. So I'm going to start with white, which is 256 for each of the colors, red, blue, and green. And that would make white, but we're going to make the alpha 0.5. So it'll be half transparent, half opaque. And now, when I hover over the link, we see the mountain area gets lighter. So the player knows that they can click on it. Now I'm going to use the same technique to make our castle link over here. Okay, this page is looking pretty good now. I'd like to show you one more trick, and so for that, let's make one more page. Let's make the page for when the player chooses the castle. So to do that, we'll just save the current page as chosecastle.html. And now when they click on castle, it'll take them to chose castle. And of course we have to change the image, and the image I'm going to use is called chosecastle.png. So put that in. And as you can see, our hero is getting attacked by a troll. And the hero's options will be either to run or fight. First we'll write, "You are attacked by a troll." Okay, you are attacked by a troll. Will you run or fight? And these will be links, of course. And now we should do something about these links. First, since this link is over the troll, I suppose we can make it the chose fight link. And we can make this link the chose run link. And of course, we should probably change the IDs to make it easy for us to understand. We could leave things like this, but we can actually do more to make these options clearer to the player. So I have made some images. I made one image for run and one image for fight. Wouldn't it be nice if we could somehow have those images appear, run over here and fight over here, when the player hovers over them? Well, it's actually pretty easy to do. The first thing to do is to put those images inside of these links. So for the run link, we put in an image with run.png as the source. And for fight, an image with fight.png for its source. Now if we just save it like this, it looks a little odd. We can fix the way these images look though by transferring the IDs used in these links to the images. So now the image for run has the ID run, and the image for fight has the ID for fight. There's only one thing left we have to do, and that is to make these images only appear when someone hovers over them. And to do that, first we have to make them invisible when someone's not hovering over them. So we need to go down to the IDs for those images and adjust their opacity. Opacity is just like alpha. An opacity of 1 means completely visible, and an opacity of 0 means completely transparent or invisible. So let's make it an opacity of 0 for run when no one's hovering over it. And now it's like that. And when someone hovers over run, the opacity will be 1. And now it looks like this. We'll do the same thing for fight. Finally, let's make this background color a little more transparent by decreasing the alpha values. Make it 0.3. That's better. And maybe we can widen this fight image a little bit. And change its position a little. By the way, if you're wondering how I made the backgrounds of these PNGs transparent, what I did was I used the program paint.net, and I'll put the link to this program down below. It's free. And so I had the image in paint.net, and I used this magic wand tool to highlight the white background here. And then I just, let me adjust the tolerance a little bit. I just cut that white background out, and then I saved the image just like that as a PNG. And if you're wondering how I made these sort of retro looking images for the scenes in our game, this 8-bit look, what I did was I used paint.net, and for example, the troll attack image, we'll just open up the original version of that, and it looked like this. To give it that 8-bit retro look, what I did was I saved the image as a PNG, and when it showed me these settings, usually it's on auto detect, like this. I changed that to 8-bit. And actually, the image still doesn't look like an old style 8-bit image. To make it look like that, we actually have to resize it. So I'm going to resize the height from 400 to about 250 pixels, maybe 280. And then we save that, and then blow it back up again to 400 pixels for the height. And as you can see, now it has that sort of pixelated 8-bit look. This not only gives your images kind of a cool retro look, but it also helps to decrease their file size, which helps them to load faster in the browser. So it has that advantage too. There's one more thing I'd like to show you, and that is how to add music to your game. So here we are at an awesome site called freemusicarchive.org. And this is a place where artists can upload their songs, and you can use those songs for free in your games, videos, whatever, as long as you just give them credit for those songs. So I found a great song for the opening of our game by Visager called Castle Theme. So I'm going to download that, and then I'll show you how we can put that into our game. So here is the song. I'm going to just copy it and then paste it into our site folder. So here it is. And now I'll open up our first page in our game, index.html, with Sublime Text. And I'll also open it in Chrome. To put the song in, we use the audio tag. We could just put it below our scene div, audio. And we make the source the name of the audio file that we want to play. So here it is. I'm just going to go to rename and then copy all. And copy that and just paste it right in here. Don't forget the .mp3 part. And use mp3 files for this, because every browser plays mp3 files. Let's refresh our page now, and we don't hear any music. But if we go back to our audio tag and we add controls, now we see that the controls for our audio file are right here at the top of our page, and if we click play, we can hear our song. But I don't want our audio controls to be shown, but I do want the song to play. I want it to play automatically. So to do that, instead of writing controls in here, we'll write autoplay. And now we get this. Just doing autoplay will make it so that this song will play once and then it'll stop. But if we want the song to loop, all we have to do is add loop. And now, when someone goes to the page, the song will just play over and over again. There's one final thing we have to do. Because we're using Visager's song, we need to give him or her credit for that song. So to do that, I'm going to temporarily take off autoplay, just so that we don't have to listen to it while we're editing the page. And then we'll go back to our index page and we'll add a credit for Visager. So we'll add a paragraph, we'll give it the ID credit, and we'll say song, castle theme by Visager. And maybe we can make Visager, the word, a link to the page where we found the song. That would be nice. Here it is. I'll just paste all that in there. And so now our page looks like this. And the credit is stuck up here. We don't want it there. We'd like to put it maybe down here at the bottom, below press start, and maybe in a small font size down here. So let's use our technique with absolute positioning. to get it down there, and also change the font size. All right, let's go back and add back on autoplay. And that's it. Congratulations. You now know how to make a choose your own adventure game using HTML and CSS. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next time.